Hola amigos y amigas, you are now with Jocelyn, and this is our weekly energy reading for the week ahead, where we are gaining a deeper understanding and higher awareness of how to navigate this coming week as the best possible version of ourselves. This is very much so us channeling our higher selves. So if that is something you're interested in, then make sure to stick around. I always pray and set the intention that those who are meant to listen and receive these messages that I channel in this reading align with this video. So if you align with this video, then there may be a message or two or a few that you are meant to hear. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are new here, if you enjoy lifestyle, spirituality, self-development, journaling, then make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my weekly videos. I just got back from a early morning hike, and I am getting straight into this reading because I just feel so in tune and just so in this space to receive and channel and do this reading. So let's get into it. I'm gonna light my incense. I'm so excited to channel this reading. Thank you all so much for being here. I have cleansed my space, cleansed myself, cleansed my decks, and we are ready to go. So this coming week, we are transitioning into a new month, into the month of October. So I'm curious to see just how this week unfolds and what this reading has to say about this coming week. So what is the overall energy for the week ahead? What is the overall energy for the week ahead? What is the overall energy for the week ahead? What is the overall energy for the week ahead? What is the overall energy for the week ahead? Okay. So, the first card that came out is the Air Guardian, to shift your perception. And this card, as I was shuffling the deck, kept trying to come out. I saw it appear a couple of times. So this is an affirmation that we are definitely meant to be tuning into this vibration and being aware of shifting our perception. And the first thing that's coming up to me in regards to the air element, right? The Air Guardian is what this card is about. But when I think of air has a lot to do with our mental state, right? A lot with our thinking, our tendency to overthink, our tendency to really be stuck in our thoughts, to really be kind of overpowered by the voice in our head, right? Just kind of being very airheaded, just being very aloof in some way, shape, or form, just kind of not being grounded in the present moment, not being grounded with our true authentic selves. And I'm getting the feeling that shifting our perception is having a lot to do with the tendency that we may have this coming week to overthink, to really be in our thoughts, to really be in our head. And we're being encouraged to shift our perception this week. Any perceptions, any perspectives that come up this week, there is power. There is so much power in allowing yourself, in taking the pause and taking the moment to pause and shift your perception, right? There's always a different perception, a different perspective available to us. So perhaps there may be a situation already in your life where this coming week, it's you really got to take that moment for yourself. You really got to hold that space for yourself to adopt a different perspective that is really going to serve you, because perhaps there may be a perception or perspective that you have been holding on to, a way of seeing the world, a way of seeing a situation or an experience that has not been serving you, that has been bringing you down, that has been holding you back. So ask yourselves, is there a perspective, a perception, a way that I am seeing a situation or an experience in my life that is not serving me, that is holding me back, that is bringing me down? What is that perception? What is that perspective? You may already have it right now in this moment. It might already be coming to your mind, or it might come up this coming week as we progress through the week. So just be mindful of that and remind yourself, what is the shift in perspective that is available to me here? One that is really going to assist me in moving forward, moving onward, and lightening up my vibration. So just keep that in mind. The other energy that we got for this coming week is the energy of the trader, to exchange energy to create abundance. Exchange energy to create abundance. This is actually something that I was thinking about on my morning walk. Something that I've just been thinking a lot about in general is the fact that we see duality everywhere. It exists in everything, in light, darkness, life, death, moments of extreme highs, extreme lows, seasons where we feel like really in tune with ourselves, and seasons where we just feel lost. Duality exists everywhere, right? It is a part of nature. It is the natural way of life. And that said, there's also the duality of giving and receiving, right? That reciprocation, the reciprocation in our lives has to exist in order for us to really remain and be in balance. So this is a message for those of you who are either giving too much, you are just giving, and you are not giving to yourself, or you are not allowing yourself to receive. Or this is for those of you who have been taking, receiving, and you are not giving of yourself, giving of your energy in whatever shape and form to others. So also ask yourself, where there are aspects in your life where you need to bring that balance of reciprocation. Or is there an aspect where you're giving too much of yourself, where you are taking too much from others? I want to look into this Air Guardian card just to make sure that I really got the message across regarding the Air Guardian. Because as I said, it was coming up. Yeah, change the way you think and you will change your whole reality. It really is underestimated just how powerful a shift in perspective, a shift in perception is. Because we can be so stuck in our ways and seeing the world one way. And as soon as we allow ourselves to adopt a new way of thinking, adopt a new way of seeing the world, we are literally changing our whole reality. We're jumping into a new timeline, right? Yeah, traditionally, air is all about thoughts, thinking, and everything that's happening in the mind. So these angels can help you overcome any thoughts that have come back to haunt you from the past and see the world more clearly. They are guiding you to change the way you think about certain situations, as this could be standing between you and your greatness. Exactly. So is there anything that has been holding you back mentally? Any mental pattern, any mental thought, any perception, perspective? As I mentioned, we got all the way into it, so yes. Yeah. You are being guided to open your eyes and your mind, go beyond any limits you have set for yourself, and recognize that the way you see the world is how you will experience the world. Opportunities are moving in your direction, but they will only open up for you if you are ready to do the internal work to support them. So yeah, y'all, this is that week where we check in with ourselves and we really are becoming mindful of the way that we are seeing the world, the way that we are seeing our life situations, our life experiences. So should any challenges or obstacles arise this week, what energy do we align with? Should any challenges or obstacles arise this week, what energy do we align with? Oh. Okay. Should any challenges or obstacles arise this week? What energy do we align with? Any challenges or obstacles? What energy do we align with? Should any challenges or obstacles arise this week, what energy do we align with? Okay, so interesting how this card continues to come up in these readings this year. If you have been watching my weekly energy readings, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this card really is coming up often. But the first card that jumped out is wisdom. Wisdom. And the first thing that's coming up for me is the element of water in this card. And the element of water is tuned into our emotions. There is so much wisdom in feeling our emotions and allowing ourselves to feel our emotions, in allowing our emotions to stay in motion, right? Not us holding it back, not us suppressing it, not us turning a blind eye to it, allowing it to flow, right? That is the only way that your emotion is going to stay in motion, to pass through you, to not be stuck and become a blockage within you, is by you allowing it to come and make its presence known and to feel into it, and then it will pass. But that's the first thing that's coming up to mind is wisdom, water, emotions. The wisdom that is in our emotions. And so should any challenges or obstacles arise, remember that whatever emotions arise, there is wisdom in those emotions that are arising. And perhaps that is a perspective shift that you need to make this week. Is you have the perspective that you feeling your emotions is going to not serve you well. It's going to be depleting for you. It's going to exhaust you. It's going to hold you back. Like if you allow yourself to feel any certain emotion, it's going to just ruin your day. It's going to ruin like the momentum you may, like whatever the case may be, whatever strenuous, misconstrued relationship you have with your emotions, perhaps the perspective that you're being encouraged to shift this week is that of the perspective you have of your emotions, and shifting it into the perspective of, okay, this emotion that is arising, what is the wisdom in it? What is it trying to tell me? What is it rooted in? What experience is it rooted in? And why is it coming up in this time? What is it making me feel physically, mentally, energetically, spiritually? Just really getting curious about your emotions. And I've said this before, I'm going to say this again, and I know I need to make a video about it. I promise I will. But there is a way to feel your emotions without becoming them, right? You can feel sadness, but not become sadness. You can feel anger, but not become anger, right? We are not tied to our emotions in that way. We don't have to create attachments with our emotions in that way. We can feel them and understand that it is a temporary experience that is going to come and it is going to go, right? We don't have to identify with them. I think so many of us are afraid to feel sad, are afraid to feel angry, are afraid to feel like whatever emotion you are afraid of feeling. We're afraid of feeling it because we feel like we're going to become it. We feel like we're going to be identified by it. If I allow myself to feel sad, I'm going to become sadness. I am sadness. Everything about me is going to be sad. My whole life is going to be sad. And that's not true. Your emotions are directly tied to a certain experience. And a lot of the times, the emotions that we suppress, that we don't allow ourselves to feel, we're carrying them within us. They are creating this density within us that is holding us back. And they're coming up because they want to be released. And so there's the wisdom in that, in our emotions, and just helping you identify where it's coming from, what's going on, what it's making you feel, why it's making you feel that way, and acknowledging like, okay, as I learn from my emotions, as I allow myself to feel them, the wisdom is that this is what I learned from this experience. This is how that experience made me feel, and this is how I'm going to move on from it. Just so much comes from allowing ourselves to feel. I don't know why I went all the way into emotions, but I guess maybe one or more of you needed to hear that. But there is that perspective shift regarding our emotions. Now, in general, outside of the water element being tied to emotions, just wisdom in general. When our challenges and obstacles arise, there is wisdom accessible to us in every challenge and every obstacle. And the perspective shift in that is that what is the lesson available to me here in this experience? What is the lesson available to me here in this obstacle, in this challenge? What can I learn from this experience? And as soon as you take on that perspective, that seat of like being a student of life, of that experience, you are turning your obstacle and challenge from one that is holding you back to one that is propelling you, because you're taking on the lesson from that experience. So y'all, everything that we go through in life can make us wiser if we allow it to. If we allow it to, if we allow ourselves to really fully feel into it. And the other card that we got that I say is consistently repetitive in these readings is the leadership card, right? And I think what's really going on here is just us being encouraged by our spirit team, that ultimately we are the leaders of our lives, and right now is the time to really reclaim that seat of power within our lives, to really reclaim the steering wheel of our lives, to really step into the power of us being the leader of our lives. We ourselves are our greatest teacher. We ourselves are our greatest healer. We ourselves are our greatest leader in our lives. Not someone outside of us, not a system outside of us, not an opportunity outside of us, not anything outside of us is a better leader, a better healer, a better teacher than within us ourselves. And should any challenges or obstacles arise, this leadership card, I feel like, is one where it's like, okay, a challenge arises in your life, an obstacle arises in your life, it's time to take a hold of it, right? No longer be one to avoid it, to turn a blind eye to it, to like shove it under the rug. Step into the leadership role of your life and handle the thing. That's the energy that I'm getting with in these messages. And I just want to look at the wisdom card and what it says in the booklet. Okay. Things are not as they seem. Look beneath the surface of your life. So this card, the way that the booklet is translating the illustration, is not necessarily tying water to emotions, though I feel like that is a message that some of us needed to hear. This booklet is translating this as the depths, right? The depths of the ocean, the sea, the water within us. So with that in mind, things are not as they seem. Look beneath the surface of your life, as in just get more in depth, right? Not really having this like shallow kind of on the surface perspective, just kind of like getting really deeper into it. And an example is you might feel that you aren't making progress in a particular project, yet beneath the surface things are happening. Or you might be going through a stormy cycle, a rough season patch in your life. This card is letting you know that even though the surface of your life may be a bit rocky or wobbly, in a deeper place all is well and serenity and peace are emerging. Things that may seem challenging will later be revealed to have been beneficial. Exactly. Everything that's going on in your life right now in this moment, any challenge, any obstacle, is prepping you for what's to come. There is a purpose, a divine purpose, a divine reasoning for everything. And sometimes we're not going to understand exactly what that is or why we're going through what we're going through. But all we need to know is that in the depths within us, deep in our being, all is well and everything is happening in divine timing. Every intervention is divine. And we have to trust that, right? That is the wisdom that we are being called to tapping into this week. And again, that's the perspective shift right there. If any of you feel like, oh, like I'm not making any progress in this area of my life, it's going very slow, nothing is happening, I don't see any moves, any manifestations coming from this, any results. Instead of seeing the world, seeing your life, seeing that aspect of your life in that way to where you feel like, oh, nothing is happening, tap into the wisdom, shift your perspective, and know that things are moving, things are happening and manifesting and shifting in your favor. They might not be happening directly in front of you to where you can see them, but they're happening. So, y'all, this is a week of perspective shifts. It looks like, yeah, seeing things from like a higher point of view, a higher perspective, a higher vibration. What do we focus on healing this week? 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 Oh, yep. All right. Yes. So, right when I said shifting to like a higher perspective, a higher point of view, a higher vibration, the first imagery that came to mind is that of an eagle, right? Soaring high, having this higher perspective of things. And here we go. We've got the eagle. So that's just an affirmation, right? Embody the eagle to where the eagle can see everything at play, not just what's happening right here, this narrow vision, but really seeing the grander perspective of things, seeing the bigger picture, tapping into that and seeing beyond the current situation, seeing beyond the current environment. But omens, right? Be mindful of the omens that are appearing in your life and allow yourself to position yourself to be able to receive omens, right? If you're just in bed all day, if you're just on your phone all day, if you're just stuck in one place all day, just like in your head, and you're not allowing yourself to go out on a walk, to go have that conversation with someone, to like step out of your routine and do things, right? Just be in a momentum of your life. How is the universe, how is your spirit team, your ancestors, your angels going to send messages to you, to give you omens, right? So just position yourself to be able to receive omens, because that's going to be assisting your healing. And also, we're going to be healing struggle this week. I think what's going on here in regards to the air element of really being in our head, being encouraged to shift our perception, the water element of our emotions, like maybe really like our emotions, the water element of our emotions, and also just the wisdom of, again, seeing things from a higher perspective, looking beyond what is directly in front of you and really getting into the depths of life, of your being. I think what's really all that is tying into what we're really being called to acknowledge this week is perhaps this perspective of struggle that many of us may have at this time. So you may have found yourself feeling like you're really struggling in life. There's an area of your life that you're really struggling with. You've really identified yourself with struggle in a certain aspect of your life. It's time to heal that. It's time to heal that identification, that attachment. It's time to heal that perspective. It's time to heal that blockage is really what it is. I'm sensing that there's many who are experiencing the blockage of identifying with struggle, many who are experiencing a blockage by identifying with believing that there are stalls in your life, that you are being stalled, that you are being held back, that there is no forward momentum in your life going on, and you're really identifying with that. You're really starting to believe that and getting in your head, right? It's time to heal that. It's time to let that go and to really be in a state of flow. In this imagery here, we see that the fish is like swimming upstream, and it's like, how are you playing a role in your own suffering? How are you bringing on struggle into your own life by the way that you are making yourself feel with all of these intrusive thoughts and what it is that you're choosing to believe and what it is that you're choosing to identify with, right? It's again with the wisdom card where in the booklet it was really highlighting, like, if you're feeling like there's no forward motion going on in your life, there is things are shifting in your favor. And that's where we have to really get ourselves to arrive to, right? That outlook on life. And it is a practice, especially if you are someone who has grown up around people who identified with struggle, who always just constantly was talking about struggle or being held back or things not working in their favor. You have to like unlearn that, see how being around that energy and being programmed by that, not only in the people around you, but in the society that we live in, that benefits off of our struggle, right? That's a whole other conversation. But it's time to acknowledge that you don't have to live that way. You don't have to see the world that way. You don't have to experience your life in that way. And you can shift your perspective and you can adopt a new way of thinking, a new way of being. That is very possible. Again, it is a practice, but it is very possible. And I really feel like that's what we're being called to, because I'm getting the sense that many are feeling stuck in some area of life, some aspect, and are starting to question it, starting to like get down on it, and that is not where we're going, okay? We are ascending to higher timelines. Descending is a thing of the past. We are not doing that any longer. So my friends, I hope that this is bringing you some clarity, and I hope some of you are resonating with this. But let's see what it is that we have to let go of. What do we need to surrender this week? Or what are we being called to surrender this week? What are we being called to surrender this week? What are we being called to surrender this week? What are we being called to surrender this week? What are we being called to surrender this week? What are we being called to surrender this week? Yeah, so I'm definitely picking up on the fact that there are some people that are really identifying with this, that are really getting sucked into this vibration of feeling like certain things aren't going your way, that things aren't working in your favor, that you're getting down on yourself in some area of your life. Perhaps you feel like your efforts are going unnoticed. You feel like your efforts aren't getting you anywhere. You feel like in general, in certain aspects of your life, you're not progressing, you're not, moving. There's no movements going in your life. Like things aren't working in your favor, shifting in your favor. Things aren't turning out the way that you expected, the way that you thought, the way that you'd hoped for. And so you're starting to get down on yourself. And I feel like that's really coming up because of these two things that we're being called to surrender. I feel like we're being very stubborn on that perspective, right? We haven't allowed ourselves to stop, pause, and shift the perspective. So surrender stubbornness is one surrender that came up for us. And that's if you're tensing up or taking a rigid stance on something, right? Being very stubborn about holding on to a certain identity, a certain perspective, perception. Gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and yourself. So this is specifically talking about being in communication with self and with others. So perhaps that's a specific message for some of you who feel like all of this is regarding to your way of communicating with yourself or perhaps with others. Maybe you have not been the best communicator lately, or you know that you can improve. Surrender the stubbornness, right? Surrender. Being stubborn about our ways is creating it is creating a stagnancy. It is creating a blockage, because everything needs to be in flow, y'all. Like, everything is energy, and really when you adopt that perspective, you realize that because energy always needs to be in a state of flow, every aspect of our lives, internally and externally, needs to be in a state of flow. Change is a constant, and it is something that we really need to welcome. It is something that we really need to create a different relationship with, because we are so stubborn in not allowing ourselves to change, others to change, our lives to change. And so whatever stubbornness exists in your life, it's time to surrender that, and like really focus on surrendering that this week. And we also got surrender your addictions. So I feel like stubbornness and addictions kind of go hand in hand, because if you find yourself being really stubborn on a specific something, then you are addicted to that. You are addicted to identifying with this. You are addicted to believing this thought, believing this scenario in your head. You are addicted to this thought pattern, this habit, this way of being, and it's time to let that go, right? And this is specifically talking about being addicted to substances. So it says here, whether you're addicted to substances, food, people, sex, or overworking, take action to begin to heal the addiction and replace it with healthier alternatives. So that is also a specific message to some of you. If some of you have been dealing with an addiction to a certain substance, a food, a person, a relationship, sex, overworking, really with anything. So maybe in this moment, pause and ask yourself, what am I addicted to? Do I have any addictions in my life? And I think when we think of addiction, we immediately think of an addiction to a drug, right? An addiction to a substance. But there are so many different types of addictions that exist and that manifest in our lives. An addiction to a certain relationship, or even to overworking, like it said in this card, which I think is also something that many of us are unlearning at this time. Many of us are realizing we are addicted to overworking. We are addicted to depleting ourselves, and we are working to reprogram and reparent ourselves in those ways. But yeah, honestly, all of this that we have been discussing, the root of it is shifting our perception. So my phone died and I freaked out for a second. I was like, no, the whole reading is gone. It was so good. But it got all the way up to the surrender cards, which is great. I already pulled the affirmation cards, so I'm going to get through that because I just realized that this video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be. So very interesting, because the topic of forgiveness really came up in the affirmations for us. And forgiveness, y'all, is so essential to our healing. And a lot of the times we are unable to forgive ourselves or unable to forgive others because we are either being stubborn to a certain perception of an experience, we are being addicted to a certain way of being or a certain way of seeing a situation, and we are not allowing ourselves to shift the perspective to one to where we are able to forgive ourselves, to one to where we are able to forgive someone else. And so the affirmations we got is, I can release the past and forgive everyone. I free myself and everyone in my life from old past hurts. They are free, and I am free to move into new glorious experiences. And we also got, I forgive myself. As I forgive myself, I leave behind all feelings of not being good enough, and I am free to love myself. And something that came up for me when it came to releasing the past is the fact that a lot of us are addicted and are stubborn about reliving the past in our heads, right? We are reliving the past over and over and over again. We are being very stubborn about our side of the story, about a certain perspective of the way that we see and experience from the past. And we are addicted, right? We are addicted to that perception, to that perspective. We are addicted to this suffering that we bring about on ourselves, right? We really have to acknowledge the ways that we contribute to our own suffering, to our own struggle, and that is something that we really need to be healing. So y'all, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for allowing me to receive and relay these messages to you. I'm truly so honored and so grateful to be a pure channel and to be providing these messages to you. I hope that you resonated with one or more of these messages. I hope that it brought you clarity. I hope you feel seen, and I hope that this allows you to navigate this week with a little bit more conscious awareness and deeper understanding. So my friends, this is a week of very much so confronting ourselves and changing the way that we see the world and ascending to a higher perspective. And as we transition into a new month, may we transition into a new month as a lighter version of ourselves. And the way that we do that is by forgiving, by surrendering any addiction or stubbornness that we may have, however it is manifesting in our lives, by healing the struggle story that we are identifying with, by opening ourselves up to receiving the omens that our spirit team is sending us, by tapping into the wisdom of our emotions and the wisdom that is available to us when we shift the perspective, when we realize that everything really is working in our favor, and not getting so stuck in our heads, right? Not allowing the voice in our heads overpower us. So my friends, thank you so much for being here, for bringing me into your present moment. If you resonated with any of these messages, please let me know in the comments below, because that is so affirming to me to know that some of this did call to you. And as always, so grateful, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Peace and blessings. Have a beautiful week. Bye.